Hi everyone, welcome back to my craft room. So I am starting a new memory book and I thought I would try and record as I go along. I've no idea if you'll ever see this because I don't know how to toggle together videos, but let's just have a bash. So the first thing I've done is cut some grey board, and this is to keep the book quite hard. I do find it difficult. I'm finding that instead of using this paper trimmer, which really does blunt the blades, I just measure it with a pencil, try and cut it with the guillotine and then trim it off with a knife and ruler. So I've got two pieces of 9x7. I've already put tape on it. One piece that is 9x3 for the spine. Now, because the pages are quite big, I'm going to be using 12x12 sheets of paper. So I use this scoreboard just to make sure that I get things on straight. And so what I'm going to do is just put a line of tape down the middle to join two pieces together, and that will make it big enough for us to cover the outside of the book. What I find is generally with these things, it's not always important to be 100% straight because there's so many layers and things going on top. So one of the things I do with the red liner, or any tape actually, is just really burnish it, because that's where the air bubbles will be and that's where you can get problems. So I'm pushing this up against that end and I'm going to push that up against the end so I can take this tape off. And then with both of them, even at the top, I can just lay that down. And that is one bigger piece of paper. So that was the only purpose for having the scoreboard there, was to even that out. Now we can place on the grey board pieces. So again, I've pushed the tape down, burnished it to get all these air bubbles out from underneath, and normally it would make it easier to lift the cover off. Okay, so I'm just going to place that in the center, push it down. Now the front and back panel, we can take these tapes off. I tend not to use wet glue here. You know, if it's not 100% on point, see how I put too much tape on there? Just fold that back. If it's not 100% on point in terms of level, at this stage it doesn't matter. Nobody that looks at the book is going to see whether you are a few millimeters out or not. What I will do is I will place a ruler along the top, and again I can butt that edge up to the ruler. I want to leave a small gap between the cover and the spine, and then we just lay that down. Okay. So let's do the back one. I don't actually know if I have burnished these. You can see bubbles. So just make sure that you push this down. I mean, in my head, I just think if there's a bubble, that is a gap where the tape is not actually attached to the board or the card. So that's why I do it. I want this to be quite firm, so I put a lot of tape on, but it's got to last a long time. So again, ruler along the top, we are going to butt it against the top, keeping that ruler straight, and we just leave a small gap. It's not a very big gap, that must be squint down there. Okay, that's that done. So what we're going to do now is just wrap this around. Now you do need to be careful here because this is where you can get splits in the card. So one of the things that I do is I score round each edge and in the middle here. So I just want to score it to try and release the fibres in the card. Okay, and it's really a case of coaxing it really to avoid the split. Having said that, I have seen ways and I've used methods of covering up bits where the card has split, it's cracked, and so again, it's not the end of the world. I don't think if it does crack, it's just that ideally you don't want it to. So scoring along every edge and folding just a bit at a time. You're coaxing it into shape. So score. This is okay. Okay. Every time you push it just that little bit further, so that it lifts just that little bit more. And you want to do the ends as well. Now of course you can trim this down. I don't necessarily think you need to do too much trimming. The trim at the corner is important. Sorry, I bashed you there. So I want to see if I can get this on camera. What you want to do is you want to cut a diagonal here so it's a neat fold, but you need to leave about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch away from that corner on the board because we need to cover the corner. So I'm not too worried, but there I've left a bit, so we just trim all the corners. Use a better pair of scissors. We don't need to snip it. So we're just leaving a little edge to make sure that we have a clean tuck. Doesn't matter about the rest of it, nobody's going to see it, but we don't want to expose the grey board. We don't want any of the grey board showing on the corner. So now I'm going to put my tape on all of these pieces, and I focus on the outside edge here. And here. This one here. Where did my scissors go? Oh my God. All right then. So we just want to have it so that it stays down, and we want it to remain flat. We don't want any bubbles, which is another reason for me not to use wet glue, to be honest. I don't like it. So in the corner here, you're going to push that corner in. Okay, so we can fold it in, but we want to push that corner up against the grey board and it will cover it. I'll just keep creasing this here, push in the corner so that it lifts, and then push in the corner. Okay, let's start sticking this down. Not burnished it. You can see the air bubbles. It's easier. There we go. Just pushing it against, pushing it down, and you see the corners have come in. So the next one, to just score in there to help these edges fold. You can see the difference, can't you, in the gaps here. That'll not, you won't notice that at all, but we just want to be able to fold that. That's fine. And then we need to make sure that these corners are neat and tucked in. Tuck in. Here we get rid of the bubbles, and see, that's just not neat enough. I need to push it in. Better. So there we have it. This is our cover. So this is video 1 of this new memory book. So that's how we do the cover. This of course will all be covered over. You won't be able to see any of this. And if we just check the edges, not too bad at all. The edges are pretty clean and clear. This, where the page links, where the page joins here, that'll be covered up. We'll cover the spine. So yeah, that's video 1, and now we'll go on to making the spine with all the folds in it to hold the pages. So thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.